That's why the mineral resources can be very helpful to that country. But it will take time. And I've actually had the opportunity of visiting the country 9 times. And John, I've seen phenomenal progress. When I first arrived in 2002, the rubble was up to the side of the road. This is a country that had a 30-year civil war, virtually total destruction of the country. In particular, it was devastating during the occupation by the Soviet Union. But what has happened is the rubble was taken back. Then, for the first time, the roads were paved. Then, the last time I visited, in little shops, this is the beginning of economic recovery, or actually first time in that country. But now, on my last visit, there are sidewalks. And to see children going to school, little guys with baseball caps, going to school, to see girls with white scarves. I've seen it with my eyes, and I know that a civil society is being developed, but they started from zero. At one time, when we got there, I believe the level of production of electricity was to 6% of the population, and that was the most, 6%. No, not 60, 6. And so this is a very primitive country. But I have seen the elements coming together. We're working very closely at reestablishing and establishing their agriculture and diverting them from poppy production. The grapes of Afghanistan, to my surprise, are treasured in the Persian Gulf, and there are now ways to ship them by air. There will be markets. Pomegranates, I didn't realize what a market there are for pomegranates, and Afghanistan at one time was famous for pomegranates. So, and wheat production. Actually, wheat production, the farmers can make more than they can on poppy production. And so we're working with all, and I'll give credit to the United States Agency for International Development. They are working with the farmers of Afghanistan to reestablish, or really for the first time, establish a civil country.
Frisco, Texas is next. This is Hank on the Republican line. Good morning, Hank.
How are y'all?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
I have a comment that I know that a number of people share, and I'm very, very concerned about this announcement of a date for pullout of Afghanistan. You tell the enemy when we're coming, they're going to set everything up. They're going to make it look great. It's like announced dormitory inspections in college. So if you could comment on that, sir.
And Hank, as a fellow Republican, that was the first question that Congressman Buck McKeon of California asked our ranking member. And we were assured over and over again that there would not be an abandonment of the people of Afghanistan, that what the president was doing, and when he's right, I'm happy to support him. He was right December the 1st, 2009, in calling for a surge of troops. 30,000 more American troops this year. By the end of the summer, we're actually ahead of schedule in the troops being deployed, and that's how you bring security. It worked in Iraq. The surge of troops in Iraq helped create a civil society, a 95% reduction of violence in Iraq. Anbar province that was never really projected that could be secure and safe is today. They are building a civil society. Is it perfect in Iraq? Absolutely not. But they've come so far, and it does qualify as a free market democracy with free elections, and I believe the same thing can be over a period of time in Afghanistan for the American people. This is stopping terrorism where it originates.
So your bottom line message about Afghanistan is stay the course?
Actually, to trust in General Petraeus, trust in General Stanley McChrystal. We need to trust in our military leaders. That's who should be making the decisions on how to protect the American people.
Mr. Wilson, thank you very much for spending time
with us.
My
honor to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. He talked earlier about the South Carolina governor's race and the runoff there. In our next campaign update, we're going to learn more about that. We'll be back after that to talk to Congresswoman Kathy Castor of Florida about the oil spill and its effect on the Tampa area.
It's less than 1 week to go before South Carolina Republican voters will choose their nominee for governor in the runoff election between Nikki Haley and Congressman Gresham Barrett. Tonight, the two will square off in a debate, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have live coverage on cspan.org. Joining us on the phone is Casey Hunt. She's with Politico, and she was down in South Carolina last week covering this race. Ms. Hunt, The Republican establishment in South Carolina is breaking ranks with Nikki Haley, even though she came out ahead in the June 8th primary over her opponent, Gresham Barrett. Why?
Well, Greta, the establishment in South Carolina is concerned primarily that Nikki Haley will follow in the footsteps of Mark Sanford, the current governor of South Carolina. It's not the entire establishment, but it's a sizable chunk of it. And Mr. Sanford, while many of us know him because of his jaunt to Argentina to visit his mistress, down in the legislature in South Carolina, there's a lot of concern that he's stymied every single legislative initiative that's come through there. He has a very bad relationship with a lot of the members in the assembly. He campaigned against a lot of them, Republicans, members of his own party, and he's generally considered a stumbling block to a lot of progress. And there are some people who are nervous that Nikki Haley, who has been supported by Sanford, and he's one of her mentors, would follow in his footsteps.
And Gresham Barrett is using that in his race, his message to voters. What is he saying?
He's out there calling Nikki Haley the Sanford candidate, which again, with many voters, I was speaking to voters on the ground there last Tuesday in the initial primary. A lot of them hear the allegations of the affair when they hear the Sanford candidate, but there's also this additional message behind it.
Last week, the former Republican governor candidate Henry McMaster endorsed Haley. This week. What impact has that had on the race?
Well, both Barrett and Nikki Haley were looking for McMaster's endorsement, and of course he's the current Attorney General. He was the chair of the South Carolina Republican Party for a long time. He is, as some people have told me, the definition of the South Carolina establishment. So that has helped in some